Hello everyone, welcome to ACJ Engage. This is an initiative by Asian College of Journalism and UNICEF focusing on child rights. This is Priyadarshini Patwa
and Janardhan Koushik, your host for today.
Children are the most vulnerable section when it comes to human trafficking. Recent reports estimate that 13 million children around the world are the victim of trafficking.
We have with us Ms. B Jayashree, who is head of Indo-Media Resource Center at MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, and also we have with us Mr. A. Selvaraj, who is covering crime at Times of India. They are here to discuss about the issues of human tragedy.
Welcome, ma'am. Mr. Selvaraj, what do you think leads to child trafficking in India?
Actually, most of the victims of this child trafficking are from the lower strata of community, like society, and these people are they don't have the option, and mostly from, according to the police statistics, mostly from this urban areas and the rural areas of the Andhra Pradesh, some pockets in Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, and the near Jharkhand, West Bengal. So most of the children are like being trafficked by the people, and they are paying a hefty amount to the family to take their children. And it's very worse because most of the families, they know what is going to happen and they admit it, and for the sake of their family, and because of most of these families are having more children, they don't have any other option to survive. So it's a very pathetic part of this.
Ma'am, what would you like to say on that?
I think I agree with Mr. Selvaraj on the socio-economic factors being a very huge aspect of trafficking that happens. Sometimes because families are pushing, for other reasons. Nobody actually would intend. There are, of course, some cases we've come across where the fathers sell their daughters into the sex trade, and those stories do exist. But very often it is for some sort of a job opportunity that is promised. And it's only because of the socio-economic considerations that the family agrees to it. And very often they lose track of the child over a period of time. So I think this is really a very important, it's an underlying aspect of trafficking, especially among children.
And also, like another worst part is the police personnel, they never react much, and they don't know how to handle these cases. And this is they simply treat the children, the victims, as kind of like they've been paraded in front of other people, and like they've been harassed literally. So the children and these families are struggling to mete out justice. So this is a fact.
Sir, we have a question from one of our student, Ujjwal. He is asking that do the presence of such racket contributes to more children being subjected to trafficking, or it arises from the financial backwardness in the family? What do you think is the main cause?
Main root cause, actually, police will give some strategy, they will give some figures, but the original thing is as Jayashree ma'am said, it's of socio-economic background. That is the main primary cause. And these people, the children, they don't know, they are being given some gifts and some freebies, so they don't know what is going to happen in their life. And even in Mahabalipuram in Tamil Nadu, we have a couple of police have registered a couple of cases against the pedophiles, and there is another angle to the same issue. Now, these migrant laborers in the suburban areas of the city, many children are not going to these schools. There is no school for them to study. There's a thing, and these children are being exploited by the employers, and these people who have on the for example, in Brickell and other areas, people are subjected. They are being taken to some kind of tortures, and this they are humiliating it, but the children, they are tormenting a extraordinary pressure, and they couldn't express their views to others, even because these families are both the mother and father both are working, and the children are like they are alone and being exploited by everyone in that area.
Ma'am, there have been instances where the family members, they themselves sell their children into slavery. So in your opinion, what could be the reason behind that?
Yeah, as we were mentioning now, it is the socio-economic considerations. Very often the families are trafficked. It's not just the children. It's like the entire family is sometimes taken, as Mr. Selvaraj was mentioning about the brick kilns, and a lot of incoming migrant laborers from the regions, especially from the Andhra Orissa border regions, who are coming in and who are paid money by these people called sardars. So they usually have a loan back home which they need to settle, and the sardar promises them a certain amount of money. He's in that sense, he's some sort of a middleman. He brings them to the place where they're supposed to work. They're promised accommodation, food, salary. Very often they don't get anything at all. And people who employ them are usually doing it through contractors. So if there is a large construction company, and you must have read quite recently, there have been a number of deaths. And if you see the names of the people who've died in these construction accidents, they are usually not from Tamil Nadu, though the constructions are happening within the state. So very often they neither get money nor do they get proper accommodation, and the family along with the children are very often victims of the human trafficking that's happening. So children with families is one sort of phenomenon. Children on their own for other purposes, which includes sex, both boys and girls. It's not just the girls who are vulnerable. Are the other possibilities, and of course there are other things like maybe for adoption rackets, which are in other countries, or for some sort of like if you see children begging on the roads, that's why they say they might have been trafficked, so don't encourage, report them. So these kind of things they're also used for, in which case only the children would have been either kidnapped or trafficked or bought and sold. The overall situation as to why the families are also involved, very often they are equally vulnerable as the children themselves.
Deprived of social security and without the guidance of the adult, these children usually grow up without the skill set that is required to carve a future. So how do you think we can actually help them out?
There are some NGOs working on it seriously, but still the government should give a moral support to these NGOs and some private organizations who are taking up this kind of issues, and through them only if the government support, then it can be rectified. The children who are in the trafficking are being rescued, and finally what is happening, everyone is as a reporter, we are reporting the children once they are rescued, and after that no one bothers about the children and their career, and the children are more vulnerable than the earlier because of they are being sent to this juvenile home if the children are like juveniles, and in the juvenile home also the condition of the juveniles are, no one can be questioned it, or the rehabilitation is very poor in the state, not only in our state, overall in many states. So the central government and the state government should take up this issue, and they should frame a policy to rehabilitate these children being trafficked.
Sir, our student Rohan has a question on this, and what is being done to these children to educate them?
No, that is what I said. And there is no rehabilitation now in the state, except in some NGOs are doing well, but still.
Is there a possibility in future, sir?
Possibilities are there. That is what I am saying. There are many people now. This I know a group of IT people they SIL, I believe, some trust they are formed, and they are educating the children, the payment children and these migrant laborers, and they are taking classes for them in the evening hours. Once they finish off their work, they are taking in Krompet near Pallavaram. So this kind of like many people are now coming forward, and it's educated strata of the society. They're coming forward to help these children, and this is not enough actually. So they need a proper. For example, if we take this migrant laborers, they are working in thousands in numbers. So government should take some or install some home for these children, and they should give a proper shelter for them and schooling for them in the same premises, so that they will get proper education. And this can be done not only by the individuals but with the cooperation by the government only.
But talking about the government often say that they have launched many schemes regarding education of children. For example, let's talk about girl child. There's this scheme which is known as Beti Padhao, Teach the Girl Child. So do you think that has brought any changes in the society?
Yeah, actually, even times they have Teach for India, Teach India, several. These are all being done, but whether if you take the statistics, whether these trafficked children are being given proper education, no, you won't get. But who are they teaching now? They are targeting the poor people, not this kind of a rehabilitation for the trafficked children. Okay. So there should be a goal or an agenda to rescue, and they should get a proper education, and education will only can save this child and save their future. Otherwise they'll be in the wrong hands, and obviously they'll be doing some untoward incident.
So you were talking about the control measures. So do you think the police and NGO are doing enough to safeguard these children and their interests?
I told earlier the police are very ignorant to handle these cases. Okay. And in spite, there are several aspects to as per the IPC and CRPC, police can rescue children and they can do a lot for the children, but they are not doing it because they have their own priority to work. They have several agendas than rescuing these children and giving proper education or something like that. So their police and NGOs has enormous powers. They can do, but still they are not willing to do it because of they're actually neglecting this section of people, and that is the reason these people are now falling into wrong hands. And
ma'am, what's your take on this, ma'am?
Well, I do believe there's some sort of work that's happening, and as far as India is concerned, there's always a policy in place. There's always safeguards, and there are very strong safeguards with regard to trafficking, especially with regard to trafficking of children. And there's also other measures like the 1098, the number which children can call. We've met a lot of children who have been rescued by calling that number, which is a toll-free number, and when they are in distress. So these kind of initiatives which publicize and give children an opportunity to come out of wherever they are stuck. That's one way of looking at it. The other is that we need to work at different levels. One is the policy level, where we look at organizations such as UNICEF, which did extensive studies on the juvenile homes as well as children's homes. What are the safeguards and standards? We heard just now about what happens to these children once they are rescued and put into a home. What is the standard of care they receive? What's the aftercare? So at the policy level, there have been studies which have suggested what can be done and what needs to be done to be taken forward. At the intervention, at the field level, there are other organizations, like for instance, there is Action Aid, which works only with children who are in conditions of distress, trying to bridge the education that they don't get in a formal system. The government health program, for instance, does these specific initiatives with children of migrant migrant groups, just to ensure that for something like for a universal immunization drive like polio, or any other immunization which they're supposed to get through the public health system, these children don't slip through the bracket. But what we are really missing is those children who are hidden. And when I mean those children who are hidden, those who are involved in something that's illegal, so it's not going to show up. Even migrant laborers, to some extent, we can track and track them. But if you look at children who are in sex work or who are being exploited, the numbers are quite large. And from my work experience in HIV/AIDS, we've heard how often that people usually look for girls, or for to have sex with a virgin. And there was this kind of superstition that you get cured of HIV. So you're looking at people, girls as young as 12, 13 years who are trafficked into sex trade just because there's a market. Again, the earlier question spoke about the market. I mean, as long as there's a market, as long as there's somebody who's going to pay money for a child to be exploited, then there's always going to be a seller. People are going to be found. Either they're going to be found by force, or they're going to be found by some illegal means, but they're going to get there. So the key, I really think, is to just nipping the trade in the bud, which is to stop people from actually buying these children, stop this actual trafficking. The minute you stop buying, people are not going to sell. It's an ideal situation, but that's really what the government needs to be focusing on.
One of our student is interested in knowing that once these people are rescued, how are we supposed to deal with their psychology? Because they have gone through so much of trauma that it's not easy for each and every individual to understand their circumstances or their situation.
Yeah, there are certain protocols which are there with regard to what happens when you actually rescue and rehabilitate a child, and that includes a lot of psychosocial support. It includes counseling. It includes being part of the the child's life, not just for that minute when they are rescued, but for an extended period of time, to ensure that they actually manage to find some semblance of normalcy. These protocols do exist, but very often the struggle really is to put these things into practice. The protocols are there. Everybody knows what needs to be done because it's there in a rule book. But have people been trained? Have they actually been given the skilled people actually available there, reaching out to those children when they need them? Those are the gaps that we need to fill. And I think that's going to be critical to make sure that the child, once rescued, has a near normal life.
Ma'am, you spoke about the children being rescued. Even being rescued, few children are they are not out from the past life they had. So, and also because of the social stigma. So how do you address these complexities, ma'am?
I think children are much more resilient than we imagine. So very often the children, have much greater aspirations and a much greater ability to bounce back. Okay. And very often as adults, we don't need to recognize that. We just need to be able to support them through that phase. So I think just making sure that they get a very fair chance at life, I think that's really critical to making them get back, find something to do on their own feet. And as we were talking about, it's not just in an institutional setting, but possibly in the setting of having a home, having a family that loves and cares for you. Because as defined by the fundamental rights of a child to have a family, that's very much part of it. So you have a right to a family, and if you can give a child a right to life, give a child a right to a family as well, so you get a more holistic upbringing. That again is a little difficult to find, but I think it just requires a change in the social mindset, so children are able to grow up in an atmosphere of love and care.
So, from a journalistic point of view, how do you think that one needs to report these stories? In what manner?
No, we have actually journalistic ethics to handle these cases, like how to report, and there should not be any kind of trace to reveal the children's identity, and also not only this identity of the children, the parents, and
the
this
complete
background also. So, and this being followed in most of the newspapers, okay. But still it's very pathetic to say some newspapers they do carry this the victim children's photographs. Even I noticed it in one of the evening newspaper last 2 years before, and I informed the editor. Then they realized, okay, they should not. But anyway, it's published already. So the child's future is very important, and as a journalist, they should respect the child's future also. It's very important.
Thank you, Ms. Jayashree and Mr. Selvaraj, for your insight. Today at ACJ Engage, we have tried to cover the issue of child trafficking. We have talked about various aspects and hope you liked our show. So this was Priyadarshini Patwa
And Janardhan Koushik. Thanks a lot for watching ACJ Engage. Have a good day.